The greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's living so abundantly that their envy becomes their shadow. Now, imagine this for a moment. Chosen one. The very people who laughed when you had nothing will soon be squinting at the light of your sudden rise. They thought you were stuck in scarcity, chained to survival. But wealth, swift, undeniable wealth, is about to flip the script. Picture them scrolling through their phones, trying to copy the lifestyle of someone they once mocked, choking on the irony that the underdog they dismissed is now living at a level they can't even fake. That's the gut punch your success delivers, not with words, not with revenge, but with proof that cannot be denied. And here's the fact they don't want to face. Over 70% of lottery winners lose it all within 5 years, not because money is cursed, but because money exposes what was unprepared inside of them. Wealth in the wrong hands becomes a weapon of self-destruction. But wealth in the hands of the chosen, it becomes a tool of transformation, a generational earthquake that shatters poverty, resets legacies, and silences every whisper of doubt. That is why your delay was never denial. It was divine design. And thank you, chosen one, for being here in this space. Don't forget to pay this message forward by pressing like and subscribing, because this isn't just a channel, it's a movement. It's our responsibility to spread the light, to lift one another higher, and to drown out the noise of envy with the sound of alignment. Thank you for being part of this force, chosen one. You're not a spectator, you're a soldier in this mission, and together we rise. Now let's return to what's unfolding right in front of you. You might be feeling a strange stillness, almost like life has been rehearsing you for something unfamiliar. Maybe you've caught yourself refreshing your bank app, even though you know there's only a handful of dollars sitting there. Maybe you've noticed how people around you are acting differently, sensing something shifting in your energy before you even see it yourself. That's no coincidence. That's confirmation. This isn't about money falling in your lap just to make you comfortable. This is about alignment, assignment, and acceleration. The universe has been upgrading your inner wiring, stretching your patience, burning out your ego, and testing your discipline, because sudden wealth isn't just about commas, it's about character. If wealth landed too soon, it would have fed your wounds. But now it will feed your mission. You've been prepared in ways you didn't even recognize. Think about it. When others were cutting corners, you were being refined. While they were showing off, you were in silence, learning restraint, healing old scars, mastering self-control. Those seasons where you felt delayed, overlooked, or underestimated, that was the training ground. Because sudden wealth doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your battlefield. It multiplies your influence, your access, and your temptations. And only the chosen can carry that without collapsing under the weight. This glow-up that's coming will confuse people. One moment, they'll be ignoring you. The next, they'll be searching for tutorials on how to look successful without looking jealous. They'll pretend to celebrate you while secretly asking themselves how you pulled it off. And the truth will sting them. The wealth wasn't luck. It was timing. It was discipline. It was favor. And chosen one, let me ask you this. What if the silence you've been walking through wasn't emptiness, but insulation? What if the quiet years were God pulling you away from leeches who would have drained your abundance dry? That's why you've lost certain friends. That's why doors didn't open when you begged them to. You weren't being ignored, you were being hidden until the system couldn't manipulate your value. You see, sudden wealth isn't just about spending power. It's about spiritual power. It's about influence that shifts generations. That's why this message is not about flexing, but about confirmation. You are not just getting money, you are becoming a move in human form. And that's why the enemy is panicking, because nothing terrifies them more than a chosen one with both wisdom and resources. So buckle up. This is bigger than status. It's bigger than lifestyle. This is about proof. Proof that alignment pays off. Proof that discipline delivers. Proof that when the chosen step into abundance, it doesn't just look good. It shakes the ground. And you, chosen one, are about to become the evidence. Number 1. When sudden wealth hits, it's not a reward, it's a reckoning. The cruelest punishment for your enemies isn't watching you stay broke. It's being forced to watch you handle sudden wealth with the grace they'll never master. Chosen one, let's tear the mask off the lie right now. Sudden wealth is not just commas in your account or shiny toys to post online. It is a test, an X-ray of the soul that will reveal everything your enemies hoped you'd never confront. They laughed when you struggled. They mocked when you scraped pennies. They thought poverty would keep you on their level. But the universe had other plans, and the gut punch for them. Watching you not only rise, but rise with discipline, with self-control, with power they can't touch. Now imagine this for a moment. The very same people who gloated when you were denied are going to watch you suddenly receive what they could never buy, no matter how hard they try. They'll choke on the irony when they see you walk into rooms they've begged to be invited into, and here you are, unbothered, steady, unstoppable. They'll whisper that you got lucky, but you'll know the truth. You were forged in the fire they tried to throw you into. That's the difference. They played for show, you trained in silence. And let's get brutally honest here. Sudden wealth doesn't just hand you luxury, it hands you a mirror. It will magnify your hidden motives, your insecurities, and your unhealed wounds. It will test whether you're a slave to validation or a master of restraint. Think about it. When you were broke, you had limited choices. Every dollar was planned, every move required patience, but when the options multiply, so do the temptations. That's where most people collapse. They think money fixes weakness, but money only exposes it. And your enemies? They're praying that wealth will corrupt you the way it corrupted them. They're desperate to see you drown in the same distractions they did. But chosen one, that's not your story. Here's a hard fact. Over 70% of sudden wealth recipients, lottery winners, athletes, even business owners end up bankrupt within years. Why? Because they were never trained to carry what they caught. They thought money would fix the void. Instead, it expanded the void until it swallowed them whole. But your journey has been different. You've been trained in delay. While others were rushing ahead, you were learning patience. While they were showing off, you were being refined. That's why your sudden wealth isn't just a blessing, it's proof. Proof that you've survived the test of lack, so you can be trusted with the test of plenty. And let's address the thought that creeps in. Why did it take so long? Why did I have to suffer first? Because suffering was the classroom that built your strength. Delay was divine training. Every night you went to bed worried about bills, every time you stretched the last dollar, every moment you prayed for provision, those were not wasted. They were chiseling discipline into your character. The wealth was always coming, but you had to be built, strong enough to carry it without it crushing you. Because wealth in the hands of a broken person doesn't heal, it destroys. Now picture this. Wealth lands in your lap tomorrow. What do? Do you blow it on flashy distractions to prove a point to people who secretly want you to fail? Or do you weaponize it, funding your vision, protecting your peace, securing your legacy? That's the reckoning sudden wealth brings. It's not about what you have, it's about who you become with it. Your enemies want you reckless. They want to see you dance for applause, to watch you fall into the same traps they set for themselves. But chosen one, you're built different. You've been trained to see money as a tool, not a trophy. Let's flip the question. What if wealth isn't just for you? What if it's a tool to expose them? Think about it. Nothing reveals jealousy faster than success. Nothing reveals weakness faster than watching someone you underestimated win without apology. That's why sudden wealth is warfare. It doesn't just test you, it tests everyone around you. Fake friends will show their fangs, opportunists will circle, enemies will choke on their pride. But none of it can shake you, because you were trained to stand before you were allowed to rise. True power isn't found in having wealth, it's in being unshaken when wealth tries to test you. That's what separates you from them. The same abundance that will destroy them will strengthen you, because you know where your identity comes from. You don't need validation, you don't need approval, you don't need the applause. You've already been stamped chosen. And let's be clear, this test is brutal, and that's why it terrifies your enemies, because they know that once you pass it, you become untouchable. Sudden wealth will ask you hard questions. What do you love more, people or performance? Do you crave power or purpose? Do you use your wealth to flex or to fund? Every answer you give is proof of your growth. And chosen one, the fact that you've endured what you endured is the universe's way of saying you're ready. So when the money hits, and it will, don't see it as a prize. See it as a mirror. See it as a sword. See it as the loudest, "I told you so," without ever saying a word. Let your enemies watch as the very blessing they swore you'd never touch becomes the weapon that silences their laughter. Because sudden wealth is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of their exposure. And when the world asks, why you? Why now? You'll have the simplest, most devastating answer: because I was ready and you weren't. Number 2, money doesn't transform you. It turns up the volume on who you already are. Wealth doesn't create demons. It hands them a megaphone and forces the whole world to hear them. Chosen one, let's rip away the illusion right now. People love to say, when I get money, I'll finally be happy. I'll finally be respected. I'll finally be whole. That's the biggest lie poverty ever whispered into people's ears. Money does not rewrite your character. It doesn't give you new values. It doesn't erase your wounds. What it does is far more brutal. It exposes, it magnifies, it amplifies what's been buried inside of you all along. And for your enemies, that's their curse. Because when the wealth hits their life, it shows the greed, the envy, the arrogance they tried to hide. But when it hits yours, chosen one, it will reveal the discipline, the purity, the resilience they could never fake. Now imagine this: someone bitter, angry and envious suddenly comes into money. What happens? They don't become generous, they become reckless. They buy things they can't afford to impress people who don't care. They use money like a sword to cut down others instead of like a tool to build. Wealth didn't change them, it simply turned up the volume on the bitterness that was already there. But imagine you, chosen one, finally stepping into abundance. Your patience, your strength, your ability to survive lack, it all gets amplified. Instead of drowning in distractions, you'll be directing destiny. That's the difference. Money is not a makeover, it's a mirror. And mirrors don't lie, they just reflect what you refuse to face. Think about this for a moment. When you were broke, you still had character. You had dreams, values, flaws and habits, but no one could really see them because you didn't have the resources to act them out on a bigger stage. Money is like a spotlight. It doesn't change the performance, it just makes it visible to a larger crowd. If you were insecure when you had nothing, sudden wealth will have you chasing strangers' approval. If you were prideful in private, wealth will broadcast that pride across nations. And if you were power-hungry before, sudden wealth will turn you into a tyrant. That's why chosen ones go through the fire of delay, because the universe refuses to give you a stage until you've mastered your script. Here's a question you might be asking. Why did I have to wait so long? Why was my season of lack so drawn out? Because lack was your training ground. Scarcity wasn't punishment, it was preparation. If you can't be faithful with little, you'll never be trusted with more. Every time you stretched a dollar, every time you made a sacrifice, every time you fought temptation in silence, you were proving that money wouldn't master you. You would master it. And your enemies hate this, because while they wasted their small beginnings, you learned stewardship in the shadows. Now when sudden wealth hits, you'll use it to build, not to boast. Wealth is not a cure, it's a magnifying glass. It makes your habits bigger, your wounds louder, and your spirit undeniable. Imagine someone saying, "Once I'm rich, I'll finally be disciplined." No, chosen one, discipline doesn't come from wealth. Wealth comes from discipline. Imagine another saying, "Money will fix my unhappiness." No, money's a flashlight. It shines on the emptiness, the loneliness, the addiction you tried to hide when you were broke. The reason so many crumble under sudden wealth is because they mistook it for medicine. But wealth is not medicine. It's exposure. And that's why you were refined before you were rewarded. You were forced to deal with your wounds in the dark, so that when the spotlight comes, you won't fall apart in front of the crowd. Now picture yourself walking into sudden abundance. Enemies are watching, expecting you to collapse under the weight. They're waiting for the slip, the scandal, the downfall. But instead, they see you steady. They see you wise. They see you generous but not gullible, confident but not arrogant. And that's the gut punch they can't recover from, because money corrupted them, but it crowned you. The difference between the chosen and the careless is simple. Wealth destroys the unprepared, but it defines the disciplined. Let me answer another thought you might have. What if I mess it up? What if sudden wealth overwhelms me? Chosen one, look at your history. Look at the years of scarcity you endured. Look at the seasons you survived without help, without applause, without abundance. If you were faithful then, what makes you think you'll suddenly lose your footing now? The delay wasn't wasted time. It was proof of your ability to carry weight. Sudden wealth won't overwhelm you. It will simply reveal the strength you already built in silence. And here's the brutal truth your enemies hate most. Money is neutral. It doesn't have a conscience. It doesn't choose sides. It simply magnifies. That's why their lives look chaotic, even when they get resources, because the chaos was already inside them. But you've been molded, refined, purified, and when money hits your life, it will make your wisdom louder than your wealth. That's the part they can't stand. They can match your spending, but they can't match your peace. They can copy your style, but they can't copy your substance. So don't fall into the trap of thinking wealth will fix what's broken. It won't. It will reveal it. And chosen one, that's your advantage. You didn't wait all these years to collapse under pressure. You waited so you could rise above it. When sudden wealth comes, it won't just prove that you've been chosen, it will prove that you've been prepared. And every enemy, every doubter, every mocker will have no choice but to watch you live out the very discipline they lacked. Because in the end, money doesn't change you. It amplifies you, and the fact that you're still standing after everything you've endured is the loudest evidence of all. You are ready. Number 3. Delay wasn't denial. It was divine camouflage. What your enemies call delay, heaven calls disguise, because if wealth had hit too soon, it would have exposed you to wolves dressed as friends. Chosen one, let's strip away the illusion. Delay was never about punishment, it was about protection. Most people confuse waiting with rejection, but for you, the pause was camouflage. You weren't being ignored, you were being hidden until the stage was safe enough for you to walk on without being devoured. Imagine this. If sudden wealth had landed in your hands years ago, you would have poured it straight into leaking cups. You would have financed fake loyalty, fed opportunists, and mistaken history for true connection. The universe knew you weren't ready, not because you lacked worth, but because those around you lacked integrity. Wealth doesn't just attract luxury, it attracts leeches. It doesn't just bring comfort, it brings competitors. The moment abundance shows up, masks fall off. Friends you thought were safe suddenly reveal their envy. Supporters who once clapped quietly morph into manipulators, trying to guilt you or control you. That's why time was allowed to do the separating. Betrayal became your teacher. Silence became your shield. You had to learn to see the difference between someone clapping for your success and someone waiting to eat from it. Delay is the filter that removes the counterfeit from your circle before the blessing arrives. Think about it. Why did certain people leave? Why did doors close when you begged for them to stay open? Because if they were still with you when the wealth hit, they would have drained you dry. Solitude wasn't a curse. It was surgery. People were cut away not because you weren't valuable, but because they weren't trustworthy. That's why betrayal stung so deeply. It was part of the pruning. Without it, you'd still be dragging liabilities into your legacy. And let's address the question you may be wrestling with. Why me? Why so much silence? Because chosen ones don't just receive money, they're entrusted with generational influence. And influence can't be placed into reckless hands, not even yours from a few years back. You weren't mature enough then to recognize manipulation. You weren't guarded enough to protect your own peace. Now you are. So when the wealth finally lands, look around carefully. The ones still standing are the ones who never needed your resources to validate your value. That's the proof that delay wasn't cruelty. It was shielding. It was divine camouflage to make sure when you shine safely. Number 4, wealth isn't for flexing, it's ammunition for destiny. The loudest flex isn't a luxury car, it's building something so unshakable that your enemies choke every time they realize they can't tear it down. Chosen one, the wealth that's coming to you isn't a random stroke of luck or a shiny prize for show. It's divine strategy. Comfort isn't the mission. Calling is. This financial breakthrough won't be given, so you can post vacation selfies, drape yourself in labels, or silence doubters with surface-level stunts. That's small thinking, and chosen ones were never called to small assignments. What's coming is sacred currency, fuel for impact, not decoration for ego. Now imagine this. A person wins money today with no vision, no discipline, no purpose. Within months it's gone, burned on distractions, wasted on validation, poured into shallow performances that left nothing behind. That's the curse of wealth without assignment. But you're being equipped to flip resources into revolutions, blessings into blueprints, and money into movements. You're not just going to live well, you're going to build well, and every brick you lay will outlive your haters' insults. Chosen ones don't collect wealth. They weaponize it to answer prayers the world has forgotten to pray. Think about the delay you've endured. You cried, you begged, you wondered why it took so long, but that pause was training. You weren't just being prepared to receive, you were being forged to handle. If sudden wealth had landed in your life before you understood purpose, you would have wasted it proving yourself to people who never mattered. Now you know better. Wealth in the wrong hands creates debt. Wealth in the right hands creates destiny. And maybe you're asking, why me? Why now? Because where you're headed, you'll need more than faith. You'll need firepower. Finances aren't just about comfort, they're about capacity. They'll fund visions too heavy for mere words. They'll build shelters for the broken, platforms for the silenced, solutions for the problems no one else wants to touch. This isn't your season to stunt. It's your season to construct, to lift the overlooked, to sponsor the unheard, to answer prayers whispered in despair by people who have nothing to give you in return. And when that wealth falls into your hands, it won't just look like money. It will look like evidence. Evidence that heaven searched the earth and said, "This one can be trusted." Number 5. You're under surveillance by gatekeepers of wealth. The most dangerous stage isn't when enemies mock you, it's when powerful eyes watch in silence to see if you can be trusted with more. Chosen one, right now, without you even realizing it, you are under observation. But this time, it's not your enemies plotting, it's gatekeepers studying. These are people with the power to open doors that money alone could never buy. Investors, bankers, business leaders, silent benefactors, even divine allies you haven't yet crossed paths with. They're all watching how you move when you think nobody notices. Now imagine this for a moment. Two people stand side by side. One flashes every dollar they touch, chasing applause and trying to look important. The other quietly builds, stacking consistency, discipline, and purpose without seeking validation. Which one do you think the gatekeepers trust? They've seen charm 1,000 times. They've seen raw talent burn out fast. What they rarely see is spiritual maturity fused with financial humility. That's why you stand out, chosen one. You're not just talented, you're tested. Money doesn't chase noise, it follows discipline, and discipline is what makes silent gatekeepers take notice. And maybe you're asking yourself, why haven't I been rewarded yet? Why do I feel unseen? Because this season isn't about applause, it's about examination. They're not impressed with flash, they're watching your patience. They're studying your integrity. They want to know if you're still ethical when the cameras are off. Do you keep building when no one claps? Do you stay generous when it costs you something? Do you carry vision or just chase trends? Every answer you give in silence is writing your testimony louder than any words ever could. Understand this. Money isn't waiting on your enemies. It isn't waiting on luck. It's waiting on your readiness. The right eyes are closer than you think, and they're taking notes. Some are positioned to fund you. Others are tied into systems that can accelerate your vision. And some are being nudged spiritually, compelled to align with you, not because you begged, but because you've proven faithful in the shadows. While others performed, you prepared. While they sought attention, you built foundation. And that's why your name will rise without you forcing it. So stay excellent, chosen one. Keep showing up with consistency, with dignity, with discipline, because when the gatekeepers finally move, it will look sudden to everyone else, but you'll know it was earned in silence, in integrity, in faith. And that's why you'll be trusted with wealth others only dream about. Number 6. Your wealth will expose the wounds they never healed. The moment you rise, their jealousy will scream louder than their applause, because your success is the mirror they can't stand to look into. Chosen one, understand this truth. Sudden wealth doesn't just put a blessing in your hand, it puts a spotlight on their wounds. The same people who laughed when you struggled, who mocked your efforts behind closed doors, who swore you'd never outgrow the shadows, they're the ones who'll choke hardest when you rise. Why? Because in their minds, you were supposed to stay beneath them. You were supposed to be the underdog forever, the one they could measure themselves against to feel superior. But when elevation flips the script, it shakes the control they thought they had over the story. Now imagine this for a moment. Someone who once pitied you sees you walking into places they couldn't buy their way into. They scroll through your progress in disbelief, searching for cracks to comfort themselves. They whisper, "It's luck, it's cheating, it won't last." But deep down, what eats them alive is knowing your breakthrough didn't come through shortcuts. It came through nights they slept while you sacrificed, through seasons they wasted while you trained, through choices they avoided while you endured. That truth is unbearable to an unhealed heart. Your wealth isn't their problem, it's the reflection it forces them to face. And maybe you wonder, why can't they just be happy for me? Because your rise exposes their excuses. It forces them to confront all the ways they settled, all the chances they ignored, all the growth they refused. Instead of seeing your success as progress, they see it as an indictment. Every step you take forward reminds them of their wasted years. Every level you climb screams at them that favor doesn't bend to their pride, their status, or their false superiority. Favor bows only to purpose, and you were chosen. So they'll label it unfair. They'll downplay the years of pain you endured. They'll spread rumors that you schemed or compromised. But you don't need to defend yourself. Your life is the evidence. What they call luck, heaven calls legacy. What they call a fluke, time will reveal as discipline. What they call undeserved is proof you were preserved. The rise of the chosen isn't robbery, it's revelation. And revelation hurts those still hiding from themselves. Let them talk, chosen one. Their gossip is proof the wealth worked. It exposed them. Your job isn't to convince them. Your job is to keep building. Because your glow doesn't need their approval. It already has purpose stamped all over it. Number 7. The price of wealth is the silence. It forces you to walk through. Elevation doesn't just take you higher. It strips the noise away until you hear who's real and who was only clapping for access. Chosen one, sudden wealth comes with a hidden price tag, and it's not just taxes or responsibilities, it's isolation. Everybody glamorizes success, but few dare to admit the silence that follows it. The higher you climb, the quieter it gets. And here's the truth. You didn't change. The people around you did. Money doesn't just fill your account. It exposes the expectations festering in people's hearts. Imagine this. You bless someone out of kindness, and instead of gratitude, it plants entitlement. They start to expect more. Someone else sees your abundance and tries to guilt you into sharing, not out of need, but out of manipulation. Others twist the narrative, accusing you of forgetting your roots, when in reality you're just protecting your peace. That's the paradox. Wealth shifts relationships. Boundaries become betrayal in the eyes of those who only saw you as a resource, not as a soul. The louder your blessings get, the quieter your circle becomes, because jealousy doesn't clap, it withdraws. People who once clapped for you may now compete with you, Those who once stood close may suddenly distance themselves, eaten alive by envy. Some will wear masks, pretending to celebrate while secretly hoping you fall. And this realization, it cuts deep. It makes you question every handshake, every smile, every promise. Suddenly, you don't just wonder who's with you, you wonder who's for you. And maybe you're asking yourself, why does it feel lonelier now than when I had nothing? Because lack attracts company, but abundance demands clarity. The loneliness you feel isn't punishment, it's protection. Some people are only assigned to your survival season. If they'd gained access to your abundance, they would have drained you dry. That's why your circle shrank. That's why conversation shifted. It wasn't rejection, it was refinement. The throne isn't crowded for a reason, because royalty doesn't walk in packs, it walks in purpose. Chosen one, if you're rooted in purpose, the silence won't suffocate you. It will shape you. Isolation becomes insulation, sharpening your discernment and fortifying your spirit. Because the truth is simple, not everyone can walk with royalty. Some are only meant to watch from a distance, and when they do, your glow will remind them that solitude was never your downfall, it was your crown. Number 8. Beware the golden handcuffs. Not every deal is divine. The enemy doesn't come waving red flags. He comes offering contracts with golden pens, knowing once you sign, the chains won't even rattle. Chosen one, sudden wealth is a magnet. It pulls blessings, but it also pulls traps. The most dangerous offers won't come looking like scams. They'll come dressed in opportunity. They'll arrive polished, professional, wrapped in once-in-a-lifetime language. Partnerships, investments, collaborations. On paper, they'll look perfect. But not every investor is heaven-sent. Some are hell-assigned. Now imagine this, you're handed a contract that promises fast success, massive exposure, and guaranteed returns. The numbers dazzle, the presentation sparkles, everything looks airtight. But what you can't see on the surface is the rot underneath, the hidden agenda, the compromise buried in fine print, the slow erosion of your freedom. By the time you realize it, you're no longer building your vision, you're fueling theirs. That's not business. Chosen one. That's bondage. Every counterfeit blessing comes wrapped in opportunity, but the price tag is your integrity. The enemy is strategic. He knows he can't block what's coming for you, so instead he tries to contaminate it. He sends people who mirror your language, echo your vision, even stroke your ego. They'll look like allies, but operate like assassins. They won't show you chains, only handshakes. But once you agree, it won't be lawyers who can free you. It will take spiritual deliverance, because these are not just business deals. They are contracts designed to drain your mission of its purity. And maybe you're asking yourself, how do I know which offers are safe? The answer, discernment. Numbers alone won't guide you. You must look beyond the surface. Who is funding it? What spirit are they tied to? What's the real cost 10 years from now? Some partners will fund you publicly, but strip you privately. Some platforms will boost your name, but silence your message. If the deal requires you to shrink your purpose or compromise your calling, it's not opportunity, it's entrapment. A real blessing doesn't demand your soul, it multiplies your mission. This is why you must guard your wealth like a fortress. Pray before you sign. Test the spirit behind the offer. Don't be afraid to walk away from what looks shiny but feels wrong. Because wealth with bondage isn't blessing. It's slavery in disguise. And chosen one, you weren't prepared all these years just to be bought out by the very darkness you were born to defeat. Number 9. The first million isn't a trophy, it's the trumpet of war. Your first million isn't applause. It's an alarm bell that tells every hidden enemy they've crossed the line we swore they'd never cross. Chosen one, most people fantasize about that first million like it's a finish line, as if the struggle ends the moment their account balance hits 7 digits. But for you, it's not an ending, it's a doorway. That first breakthrough doesn't mean you've escaped the fight, it means you've stepped into a bigger one, because wealth doesn't just buy freedom, it paints a target on your back. When you were broke, people overlooked you. You were underestimated, ignored, dismissed. But the moment those zeros appear, masks start slipping. Suddenly, you're visible. Suddenly, people who once doubted you are circling back, smiling with hidden agendas. And that's when the real warfare begins. The higher your account climbs, the sharper the knives get. You'll face legal warfare, audits designed to trip you, lawsuits engineered to drain you, contracts laced with traps. You'll face financial warfare, shady advisors in expensive suits, unexpected losses that smell like setups, opportunities that look divine but lead to dead ends. And then, perhaps the heaviest of all, ancestral warfare. The spirits assigned to keep your bloodline chained to poverty, addiction, and cycles of failure will rise up in fury. Because you broke the curse. You are the one who crossed the forbidden line. And that kind of move rattles more than people. It rattles principalities. So don't be deceived. That first million is not a soft pillow to rest on. It's a battle cry. It's heaven declaring, this one is ready for war. Every conversation now carries weight. Every handshake now has hidden meaning. Not everyone clapping for you wants you to keep winning. Some just want to get close enough to drain you. That's why discernment must sharpen like steel. And maybe you're asking, so how do I survive this level? By being ready. Ready to protect what you've built. Ready to say no, even when saying yes would bring comfort. Ready to walk away from anything that threatens your peace, your vision, your legacy, because you didn't just get rich, you got noticed, and with visibility comes warfare. The first million isn't proof that the battle is over, it's proof that you were chosen to fight on a higher battlefield. But here's the encouragement, while the money is not the real blessing, the fight is. The strength you'll gain, the strategy you'll master, the clarity you'll develop, that's the true inheritance. And no lawsuit, no betrayal, no generational curse can rob you of that. Number 10. You're being positioned to outgive kingdoms, not compete with crowds. The enemy wants you to think wealth is about flexing on your peers, but heaven set you up to outgive entire nations. Chosen one, this next level isn't about outshining anyone. It's about outranking the darkness that's kept generations in chains. Most people chase wealth for competition, for status, for validation. But you weren't chosen for competition, you were chosen for commission. You're being raised to become a distribution center, a living pipeline of divine resources. Money won't just stop with you, it will flow through you, multiplying into movements, revivals, and legacies that echo far beyond your name. Now imagine this. A government with all its power can pour billions into a cause, yet still miss the one soul who was praying in silence. But your one act of generosity can spark a movement, light a fire, and rewrite a bloodline. That's the kind of reach you're being positioned for. Your wealth won't just build mansions. It will rebuild broken communities. It will rescue hidden talent. It will fund under-resourced voices. It will dismantle systems designed to keep people bound. This isn't about status, it's about reach. The heaviest warfare comes before the heaviest responsibility, because hell knows your generosity will undo what it worked for centuries to build. That's why you've felt such weight. That's why the warfare has been relentless. because you're not preparing to walk into a small blessing. You're preparing to carry a global assignment. Your generosity won't just hand out aid. It will spark revolutions. It will launch visions buried by poverty. It will shift generations from survival into destiny, and hell hates that. And maybe you're wondering, why me? Why this much pressure? Because heaven trusts you not to hoard. Heaven trusts you not to waste it on revenge. Heaven trusts you to heal what's been broken for far too long. You're being set up to give on a level most people can't even dream of earning. That's not punishment. It's honor. Your wealth isn't proof of who you outpaced. It's proof of who you were sent to uplift. So when the floodgates open, don't think small, don't think status, think strategy, think legacy, think nations. Because chosen one, your wealth will not just be counted in dollars. It will be measured in souls lifted, bloodlines rewritten, and destinies restored. Number 11, wealth will drag ghosts from your past and demand you forgive without closure. The cruelest trick of success is this: the same mouths that spit on you in struggle will smile at you in wealth, pretending history never happened. Chosen one, sudden wealth doesn't just pull new opportunities into your life, it drags old ghosts out of the shadows. People who mocked you when you had nothing, who betrayed you in your weakest moments, who dismissed you when the crowd wasn't watching, they will reappear. Some will come with fake smiles, dripping in hypocrisy. Others will arrive with silent competition in their eyes, secretly hoping to outshine you. And the boldest of them all will act like nothing ever happened, as if their betrayal didn't scar you, as if their words didn't bruise your soul. Now imagine this: you're standing in your abundance, and someone who once laughed at your pain suddenly hugs you like family. No apology, no accountability, just audacity. Some will even try to rewrite your story, taking credit for your growth, claiming they always believed in you. And in those moments, your ego will whisper, "Flex, show them who you are now, make them feel it." But here's the brutal truth: revenge is too cheap for royalty. You were not chosen to flex on the past. You were chosen to transcend it. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the wealthiest form of strength, because it frees you from debts no money can pay. And maybe you're asking yourself, why should I forgive someone who never gave me closure? Because closure is a luxury you may never get. Some people will never say sorry. Some will never admit the damage they caused. And if you wait on them to validate your healing, you'll stay hostage to resentment. Forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about unhooking yourself from the bitterness that chains your spirit. Wealth gives you choices, and one of the greatest choices you'll ever face is this: punish or release, clap back or walk past, prove them wrong or live so right that proving becomes unnecessary. True healing isn't measured by who you destroy, it's measured by who you no longer need to respond to. That's real maturity. Peace is the real flex. Forgiveness is the crown. You don't have to restore every connection. You don't have to welcome everyone back. But you do have to release the poison of bitterness, because wealth doesn't just test your bank account, it tests your heart. And if you can carry millions but not carry peace, then you're still bankrupt where it matters most. Number 12. Wealth will whisper, "You don't belong here." But that voice is a lie. The cruelest battle isn't fought with enemies outside. It's fought with the whisper inside that says, "You're not worthy of what you already bled for." Chosen one, sudden wealth has a way of shaking loose insecurities you thought were buried. It's one thing to pray, to believe, to grind in the shadows for the blessing, but it's another to finally hold it in your hands. And when you do, a quiet voice may creep in, asking, "Are you sure this is for you?" Maybe this was a mistake. that whisper won't sound like fear. It will sound like humility. But don't be deceived. It's not humility. It's residue. It's the leftover weight of all the years you were overlooked, underestimated, and pushed aside. Now imagine this. You're standing in abundance, but your mind is still stuck in survival. You check your account, see the commas, yet feel the same fear of running out. You walk into rooms your sacrifice earned, but you shrink like an outsider waiting to be exposed. You might even feel guilty for having more, while others still struggle, as if your rise is somehow robbery. That's how imposter syndrome works. It drags your spirit back into cages you already broke free from. Imposter syndrome is the ghost of your old life, trying to convince you that the throne you built is borrowed. And maybe you ask yourself, did I really earn this? Am I strong enough to keep it? The truth, your preparation wasn't loud, but it was legitimate. While others were flashing their grind, you were doing the inner work, healing scars, sharpening your mind, disciplining your spirit. You weren't just waiting, you were becoming, and that means you didn't stumble into this. You were sculpted for this. You were not randomly selected. You were appointed. Imposter syndrome will try to sell you the lie that this was luck, that one mistake will strip it all away. But heaven doesn't hand out generational assignments by accident. Every trial, every betrayal, every hidden season was the curriculum that trained you. You didn't skip steps, you survived them. That's why this wealth landed in your hands, not theirs. You're not an imposter. You're the evidence that preparation in silence always roars the loudest in public. So stand tall. Own it, not with arrogance, but with authority. You're not here to impress. You're here to answer a call. You're not an accident. You're the answer. And chosen one, don't you ever forget. The throne fits because it was carved for you. Number 13. Your value was hidden until manipulation lost its grip. The system couldn't steal your crown, so it tried to convince you you didn't have one. Chosen one, there's a reason your rise took time. There's a reason doors stayed shut, platforms stayed silent, and your brilliance seemed ignored. Your gifts weren't overlooked, they were hidden. You weren't delayed as punishment. You were camouflaged for protection, because if your worth had been revealed too soon, the wrong hands would have seized it. The system would have twisted your purity for profit, pimped your gifts for their gain, and bound your destiny with golden chains. Now imagine this, a rare diamond pulled from the earth too early. It would be cut, sold, and passed around, never realizing its true brilliance. But when a diamond is preserved, refined, and revealed in the right time, it's priceless. That was you. While you mistook the silence as rejection, heaven was keeping you out of rooms that would have used you but never valued you. Delay wasn't denial, it was divine camouflage. And maybe you've asked yourself, why did it take so long? Why wasn't I seen when others were? The truth, you were being shielded, protected from circles that only clap when they control, preserved from systems that would have cashed in on your naivety, hidden until you healed enough to resist manipulation, until you grew strong enough to walk away from shiny traps. The waiting wasn't wasted, it was weaponized. Now the timing has shifted. The same systems that once ignored you will be forced to acknowledge you, but this time they can't buy you. You're no longer for sale. You've been stripped of the need to please, refined past the hunger for validation, and trained to recognize the stench of counterfeit favor. That's why this wealth is different. It's not falling into desperate hands. It's falling into disciplined hands. Not greedy hands, but trusted ones. Hands that can't be bribed, bought, or broken. When wealth lands in the wrong hands, it becomes a leash. but when it lands in yours, it becomes liberation. This abundance won't slip away because it isn't luck, it's alignment. It isn't hype, it's heritage. And that's why it's irreversible. What's about to unfold isn't just money, it's a declaration. A warning shot to the system. This one cannot be owned.